What's good, good people? Welcome back to Whole Views. Thank you for clicking that thumbnail. Today, we're just going to talk about the disaster that is currently occurring with Justin Roiland. So this is a freestyle video. I'm just talking about the devastation that I feel with all the news that's coming out in relation to Justin Roiland. So I'm not personally invested with him or any of the things that he's accused of doing. All I know is I read on Hollywood Reporter that Cartoon Network is cutting ties with Justin Roiland, and he will no longer be accredited as part of Rick and Morty, and his parts will be recast. And I had conversations with people all day long today talking about how can you recast Rick and Morty, and the show is called Rick and Morty. You are taking the voices that people have fallen in love with for the past 7 years, and you just, we're gonna move on from that. How do you move on from that? And I don't think you do. I think you try, and just like this is gonna be a good try, but I don't feel like this is gonna be successful at all. So that's kind of the reason why I make the video. I kind of want to hear from the people that watch my channel and they see a lot of my watch alongs. Those Rick and Morty watch alongs have done quite well for me. And my thought is, I don't think I can sit down and watch the show again without those familiar voices. Now, I must say very clearly, this is not an endorsement of Justin Roiland or anything that he's accused of doing. I'm strictly talking about the content, and I think to myself, there's no way that the fans of the show can still enjoy the show without the voice acting that they fell in love with. So why would Cartoon Network try to push through without him? I just don't see it working out, and I'm very anxious to see what they throw out around this time next year. Like, I just want to see what comes down the line with Rick and Morty. Now, once the initial news dropped and we knew that, okay, he's separated from Rick and Morty and he's no longer part of Cartoon Network, I was still hopeful. Because nothing had been announced about Hulu and Solar Opposites. So I don't know if everybody knew that Solar Opposites was a thing or that Justin Roiland was the person behind that. But honestly, if you watch Solar Opposites and you watch Rick and Morty, there's no way you cannot connect the two. Like, they are very similar shows. And while I was devastated at the fact that Rick and Morty is going to be recast in the show Rick and Morty, my other thought was, okay, well, at least we got Solar Opposites and Hulu hasn't dropped them yet. And then about an hour before school ended, I'm sitting around talking about this very situation with my students. And then we get the news that Hulu has now separated themselves from Justin Roiland as well. So it's like, oh my goodness, bro, how do you have Solar Opposites move forward? And my thought is, in pre-production, talking with my producer, every conversation I have with him, I call it pre-production. And the thought was, you could give us a whole season of The Wall and we would be satisfied. The Wall could save Solar Opposites and keep it going. Give us some Jesse and some Yumulak in the background, and you give us a whole bunch of Wall content, and you will get the same amount of viewership on that show, because The Wall is the best part of that show. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next season is Wall heavy. I heard from the Hulu press release that they are going to release season 4, and they are currently working to release season 5. I think they were just recently greenlit for season 5. So it's like, okay, Solar Opposites has a chance, more of a chance than Rick and Morty, because the show is all based on Rick and Morty. With Solar Opposites, we got a storyline that is rich and good and something that you can hold on to. I don't see that really playing out well with Rick and Morty. But again, the whole purpose of me sitting down and making a video, and I kind of waffled on whether to do it or not, because Justin Roiland is accused of some very heinous things. And it puts me in a position where it's like, do I want to talk about how much I love the content, even though I know that the creator is, basically he's a scumbag? And I've heard things that are not connected to this case, just via Twitter, weird stories about him and underage or extremely young girls. It's like, man, none of this looks good to be coming out around the time that it's coming out. And while I enjoy his content, it's like, man, you do seem like a sleazy dirtbag of a person. But hey, let the legal system play out and do what it's gonna do. Maybe he gets it. Maybe he gets exonerated, but I don't know how they repair the relationships after that. That would be an interesting thing to see unfold to way down the line. But I'm just talking now, not really talking about nothing important. So I'm gonna let y'all go. If you're still watching, thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't so far, and let me know in the comment section, how do you feel about all this? Do you think Rick and Morty has any chance of continuing? That's my question for you all. Enjoy yourself, guard your heart, and go watch something good.